Hey guys, it's your girl Sabrina here again. First and foremost, before we get started, I just wanted to say that I am extremely grateful for everybody who has been, here riding with me since the beginning, everybody who's been supporting me throughout this new journey of mine with this whole channel and everything. I am just so unbelievably grateful. You guys know that it is a journey and it, does take time, but with the help of God, everything is going to come into fruition. It's going to align itself the way that it should. But nonetheless, you guys have just been supporting me nonstop. There's literally people who will hit up my phone every single time I drop a new video, just encouraging me and just like giving me feedback, talking to me as if like I'm like right there next to them or something. And it's just super cool. Like, little things like that really uplift my spirit. And I am beyond grateful for the overwhelming support. I mean, my family, especially, like the amount of love and support that they have shown me throughout this whole process has been unbelievable. I just ask that you guys continue to do that for me, continue to support, continue to share it on your social media platforms, continue to spread the word to your friends and families, and just help them to get in tune. And you never know who this might impact and what way. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So today I simply just want to encourage you guys. I have a little word of encouragement for you guys, and it is actually based off of a recent Instagram post that I posted on my story, and it goes like this. So it was a daily affirmation that I wrote, and it says, "Satan knows that my hands are too small to hold all of the blessings that God has for me. He failed to realize that my hands were hovering over an open well. In other words, what God has for me, it is for me." And although for some that may be kind of self-explanatory and pretty basic, but then I understand that everybody is at a different level of spirituality. So what may seem simple and basic to some might be a little bit more challenging and difficult to others. But nonetheless, I do want to unpack it a little bit more to just break it down into a little bit more detail. And this mainly goes out to those people who just feel like, you've messed up so many times and you're like, how could God, still want to work with me, want to use me? How could God still want to bless me again, even after how many times I've let him down, I've let myself down, my family down? And you're just like one of those people who it could be from the smallest of things. It doesn't even have to be anything too major, like anything criminal. But there are times in our lives where we really just feel like we're unworthy of anything good, of anything great. And especially when it comes to the blessings of God, we get a little bit discouraged and we get a little bit stuck in our feelings, caught up in our heads a little bit, where we're just like, yo, I don't think I deserve anything good coming my way right now. I don't see myself deserving any type of blessing from God because I've messed up too many times. I've done too many of the wrong things too many times, and it's just it's overwhelming, to say the very least. Just understand that God's love for you isn't contingent upon the things you do well or the things you do wrong. It never has been. And he makes that clear throughout the whole entire Bible. You see so many different examples of people who have messed up time and time again, yet he still has this abundance amount of love for them. Or he still finds a way to use them even when everyone else sees them as unworthy and as inadequate. So don't, bring yourself down just because of the mistakes that you've made, just because you feel like your chances have run out, just because you see that your life is going around in circles and you're constantly repeating the same mistakes over and over again. I mean, that doesn't give you validation to continue to do the things that you shouldn't do. But I just really feel like it's important that we encourage one another, and it's important that you know how to encourage yourself, because you're not always going to have somebody there to give you that boost, to give you that encouragement. And it is super important that you know how to encourage yourself at least sometimes, because at the end of the day, it's just you and yourself, you and God all the time. You may have a spouse, you may have children, you may have roommates, you may have family, you may have people you live with, but what goes on in your head is literally just between you and God. So at the end of the day, you may be able to put up a nice smile, you may be able to put up a good front, but you know how you feel on the inside. And it's very, very, very critical that you know how to uplift your own spirit rather than just relying on other people or society or social media or what this world has to offer alone to uplift your spirit. And so going into the affirmation that I wrote, when it says that, you know, Satan, so one thing that we have to understand about Satan is that from the beginning of time, he's always just been trying to prove how unworthy we are to God. And the crazy thing is, he knows that we're not worthy of anything. God knows that we're not worthy of anything. Heck, even we know that we're not worthy of anything. So God doesn't love us because he thinks that we're worthy. So we need to, you know, get that out of our heads, thinking that we're earning God's love. We're earning God's grace. There's nothing that we can do to earn his love and his grace. That's just a gift. It's like when you just give somebody something when they were not expecting it, when they did not even have that in mind. You know, like it's a gift. There's nothing they could have done, good or bad, to make you have done what you did for them. So that's exactly how God's love works for us. It's literally a gift that he would never take away, and something that he is not relying on us to be perfect in order to receive. Excuse me. And so the reason why the enemy does that is because he's just trying to get into our heads. He's just trying to make us feel so less than, so inadequate, that we just want to throw in the towel. We just want to leave everything and just get so soaked up in our own sorrow and, you know, pool of bitterness that we don't realize how blessed we really are, that we don't realize there's always grace on the other side. So the thing is, God is constantly always blessing us, whether we choose to recognize it or not, whether we realize it or not. He's blessing us nonstop, constantly. So he gets really upset, you know, Satan, he gets really upset because he feels like we don't deserve it, and we don't. But God blesses us anyway. He loves us anyway. So what he does is, like I said, he's just trying to get into our heads and just trying to do the whole mind games to get us to stoop down to his level and, you know, eventually just stop trying. He wants us to stop getting up and stop trying day after day after day after day. So he knows that God is always blessing us constantly, but he also knows that, you know, our hands are not big enough to hold all of the blessings that God has for us, because he was, you know, once an angel of God. So he knows the types of works and miracles that God is capable of doing. So he's like, there's no way that we can contain everything that God has given us, because we will slip up, we will mess up, we will do things that we know we shouldn't. And so imagine that you have your hands like this and you're just trying to grab a hold of everything that God has for you. You know, he's just like, imagine that he's just pouring down all these blessings throughout, you know, periods of your life, and you're trying to catch them with your bare hands. Now, in Satan's mind, he's like, there's no possible way that your hands are going to be able to withstand all of those blessings. So eventually they're going to start to slip through the cracks of your hands, right? They're going to start to slip through the cracks of your fingers. And, you know, so to personify it a little bit, it's not that it's literally slipping through the cracks of your fingers, of your hands. It's more so the slipping symbolizes all the errors, all the mistakes that we make, all the times that we fall down, because he knows that even though God is blessing us so abundantly, that there are going to come times in our lives where we're just going to let the blessings slip, where we're just going to, you know, neglect all of the things that we're supposed to do, where we're going to lose sight of whatever it is that God wants us to do. And he wants us to think that that's the end of it for us. So us in our simple human minds and our simple human eyes, we see it like, oh my goodness, my blessings are going to run out at some point. And that's exactly what he wants you to think. That's exactly how he wants you to think. He wants you to believe that your blessings are going to run out. He wants you to believe that your luck is going to run out. And that's absolutely not true. Because what he failed to realize is that while your hands are open like this to receive God's blessings, that they were also hovering over an open well. So that open well represents a storage unit that God just has set aside for us. And we need to understand that God literally stores up his blessings for us. So even though our hands are not capable of withstanding and holding everything that he has for us, he's storing it. So anytime that we need some encouragement, anytime that we need some boost, anytime that we need some life, all we got to do is just dip our hands in that well and grab whatever it is that we need, whether it's strength, whether it's power, whether it's healing, whether it's, you know, just encouragement, anything. So he literally has a storage unit stored up for us because he knows that we will lose track of life. He knows that we will, you know, stray away at some points. He knows that we will not be able to hold everything in our hands. So he would never just, you know, pour all these blessings on us and expect us to be able to just consume it all. Like that's humanly impossible. So God, he's a smart God. He operates in a way that we would never even think. So literally imagine that this well, this open well, it is your livelihood. It is your life. It is everything great that God has in store for you. So that is why you see, even though you fail time after time after time again, even though you've slipped up and you've made so many mistakes, and even when you see that you've hit rock bottom, somehow, some way, you're able to get back up. You're able to climb back up that ladder. You're able to turn, you know, just nothing into something. You're able to work with whatever it is that you have. You're able to come back up top. And you ask yourself, how did I get here? Of course, you thank God. You're like, oh man, thank you God so much, you know, for bringing me up and for really just helping me. But think about it really strategically. He didn't just wave a magic wand and boom, here you go. Here's this blessing and here's this, here's that. Literally, you had to dig deep into an inner part of yourself. You had to go searching and dip your hand. So imagine yourself literally going and dipping your hand into this well and just grabbing everything that God had stored up for you. That is such an amazingly beautiful feeling because it gives us a sense of security, making us know that no matter how low we get in life, no matter how deep, how hard we've hit rock bottom, God always has more in store for us. That is not the end of our story. So while a lot of us are going through a hard time right now during this pandemic, we need to understand that this is not the end for us. A lot of us have experienced loss, a lot of us, and it can be loss of family members, it can be loss of jobs, it can be loss of your joy. A lot of people just are not happy anymore. A lot of people lost their spirits, their sense of joy. Just so many people are walking around almost like zombies because they've lost pieces of themselves that they thought, you know, just that they didn't think they would lose. Yes, it's heartbreaking and it's a very hardening feeling. But we need to understand that there are ways that we can dip into that well. We can dip into that storage unit that God has for us for strengths in those moments of weaknesses, for life in those moments where we feel like we're done for joy when we feel that we are so depressed and so down and out. Because God never intended for the story to end like this for us. So just try to always remember that you have the upper hand and that you can beat Satan at his own game, because all he does is mind games. All he does is mind games. He just wants to make you think. If he can control your thoughts, he can control you. So the number one thing that you need to keep in mind is that, number one, God has your back no matter what. He has your back, and there's nothing that you can do to earn his grace or his love. Therefore, there's nothing that you can do to lose it either. No matter how many times you've slipped up, doesn't mean that you're going to avoid or you're going to elude consequences. It's a part of life, you know. We pay for our mistakes. We pay for our actions. But that's not where the story ends. That's not the end of all be all for us. God always has more in store for us. And I just really need you guys to get that. He always has more for you. You're not too screwed up. You didn't mess up too many times. You're not done for. If anything, by you actually making the realization that, yo, I'm still here. If I'm still here, that means that I still have a purpose to serve. That means that I still have more left in me. So if I'm going to be here, let me be here. Let me be present, not just physically, but actually be actively present. Let me do something to change my life, to change my circumstances, to change my mind, to change my heart, to change my spirit. Because like I said, there's going to be times where you will not get the encouragement or the uplifting from others from other sources. And it's not because it's not available. It's just you need to learn how to encourage yourself at times. Because if you can do that, then you know that you've reached a different level of your life. You've reached a new pinnacle moment where you're like, wow, okay, this is growth right here. This is true, real growth. Because if I have enough strength to encourage myself when I'm down and out, that's another proof of God's love. That's another proof of his blessings towards me, that I have enough strength to be able to uplift my own self. I don't have to try to go and look for it elsewhere. So I really, really, really want you guys to get this. And I hope that you guys really do get this. If you guys are struggling to try to receive God's love, or to try to learn to love yourself or accept yourself, just, pray about it. I know it's easier said than done, and it's not just a cliche thing that I'm saying, but literally prayer is the answer to everything. It's just a conversation, just like you're having a conversation with your loved ones, with your friends. Literally just invite God in. Whatever confusions, whatever thoughts, and whatever it is that you may have, just speak on it. Speak to him the way that you know how to. And he'll listen. You don't need to make any appointments. You don't need to set any particular time aside and speak to his assistant or anything. Like, God is always here. So just open up and let him in. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and I don't know, you never know. This might help somebody. It might help you. If it helped you, if it uplifted your spirit a little bit, hey, try sharing it to somebody else. Thank you guys. Bye.